Fancast. My name's Luke, and I'm joined by Dan the Man, Big Man Dan Albright. Dan, welcome to the show.
Hey, how we doing?
Sorry for just throwing a nickname on you. I believe Ethan Goss calls you Big Man Dan as so. But it's good to see you. You had a great fight at Brawl, the Burgh 9 for 247 Fighting Championships, which was October 23rd, only a couple days away, a couple days ago. And it was a heavyweight fight, which is always exciting. It went to a decision. You got a big win against a very tough, well-known, kind of up-and-coming heavyweight in Cody Gamble. So let's hear your thoughts on it. And if you could, go round by round, because a 3-round decision meant that there was 3 mini fights added together, because every round has a different vibe.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Cody Gamble, shout out to him. Like that's a tough guy, very tough opponent. I was glad to get the win over him. The first round, I was really thrown off. Like I was expecting more takedowns, and then he came out southpaw. I was expecting to come out orthodox. So like that kind of threw me off. Like, I don't know if you guys could hear, my coach is in the corner yelling, "He's a southpaw." And so I was like, oh, I got to change it up there. And then even on like when we're against the cage, like I wasn't really doing much because I was expecting a takedown. He did attempt one, I think probably a minute in, and then I stopped it, and then there wasn't really much left there. Like the first round, I'm sitting there and I'm waiting. I'm like, all right, he's gonna try to take me down, and as soon as he does, that's when I'm gonna reverse him. But then only that one attempt, so like that threw me off. So I was like, okay, second round, I was like, I need to be more offensive. He's probably going to try to take him to the cage again. And then, that's where I'm going to reverse him and try to take him down. I was also my game plan too was thrown off because, a week before, I was told we were going to do advanced AMI. And so I was like, okay, so, we'll get to the ground and pound. That was really going through my head throughout, the week of the fight. And obviously, the day of the fight, they say, no advanced AMI for us. Like, well, okay. So, gotta adjust with that. And, that's got to change the plan a little bit.
And that did make a big difference, because I didn't realize you guys were almost advanced amateur. That's a tough thing for people that don't know. Yeah. The state commissioner has the ability to kind of rank or approve amateurs at different levels. There's novice, advanced, and then of course pro. And they kind of have a bit of a system for advanced amateur, but it can be a little wiggly. So obviously, but there was an interesting part there about, I'm going to say 10 to 15 seconds to go in the second round. You were full mount on Cody Gamble. And I said in commentary, this would be a much different fight if there were ground and pound. Now, obviously you restrained yourself, but did that go through your mind? It was right at the end of round 2. Really, round 2 was when you started turning the tides. You got on him. You changed it from round 1 where he had pushed you up against the cage. So round 2 ended about as well as you can because you were in dominant control. There's not a lot you could do, but you were definitely in control. Did that come to your mind that it would have been a different fight right there if there was ground and pound?
Yeah, like there was at one point where I was in the middle of taking him down and I threw a leg in, and I'd be like the thing that went through my mind is don't hit him. But if I was able to do that, I was like, oh, I could be able to transition to mount. Like I start providing strikes, and then I could have, gotten a little flatter, and then I could have really got some work done there. But instead, we kind of got in that scrambling situation where he kind of got on me, and then I reversed him again, and then even when I had him in that full mount, there wasn't really much I could do there. It's like, what am I like? I could provide some strikes to the body, but then that's going to be throwing myself forward. Yeah, that's going to put me in a bad situation. So, really what I was trying to do is, get pressure on his head and, try to get him to slip up. So maybe I could go for a submission there.
Sure.
But, he was staying tight. He was doing the right things there to kind of, stop the, those situations. It wasn't just, especially in that second round, I was like, if I was able to ground and pound, I could maybe, really, turn that fight around.
Well, the second round definitely was your round, as was the third. I think it also shows, even though 2 minutes, man, does it go by quickly. I mean, 30
Oh yeah,
seconds is a quarter of the round. So that's where grappling exchanges become very heavily weighted, because 30 seconds in a grappling exchange goes by like that, and that's a quarter of the round.
yeah,
And so you kind of think of the round, at least I try to think of the round as 4 30-second sections, quarters. And basically the way most judges do it is kind of who's controlling, at least 3 of those 4 chunks. And obviously in the second round, you really put it on him with the grappling. What was interesting is, and it's something that you might want to use in the future, and I've seen it particularly at the heavyweight level, is Cody's strategy in round 1 to just press you against the cage, only that one takedown, and then land uppercuts and just stay real tight, is actually a fairly smart strategy, because obviously there's no exchanges. There's really no exchanges at all when you're up against the cage and you're pressing. And I think that's something that in longer fights, like I'm thinking back to the pro fight that just happened at Flood City Fight Night for 247, where it was a similar position where Chris Dempsey was pushing, I don't know if you watched the fight, but Chris Dempsey was pushing T-Rex Harris, and it was going really well for him when he was leaning on him and pressing him and giving him no space, and had forearm on him and doing uppercuts. And then obviously the fight changed quickly when Rex was able to land a knee and then drive him off and knock him out. But that position is an interesting position. But now let's get to the third round, because I think the way the judges score it, definitely the way I remember it, it was 1-1. Cody had won round 1, you had won round 2. I think that was pretty obvious. What did the coaches tell you? Are they up front? Did they say you're 1-1, you need round 3? Kind of what was that strategy coming in?
I mean, like, I definitely knew, because I wasn't doing anything in the first round. Like, I told my coaches, like, I was like, my bad. I was like, I thought he was going to try to take me down. And that's why I waited there. It's like, he's going to try, take me down, try to finish the fight early is what I was guessing.
Sure.
But when that never happened, I'm like, right after the first round, I knew, I was like, well, shit. I was like, I just sat up against that cage, didn't really do much. And, I let him lay on me. He got some good strikes in too. But then, third round, like, coaches came up and they were pretty much, Darren and Ray were like, you gotta get back to your wrestling. You got to take him down. And you got to try to finish it there. And they're also like, if not, get back out to the middle of the cage.
Right.
Start getting those hands moving. And then so right off, he did the same thing in the third round. We touched gloves. He came in with that left, and we got up against the cage, and then I was able to just, move him around, transition from takedown to takedown, and finally get him to the ground. And it was probably that last 30 seconds though. I let up.
I did not know how that was going to go, because for people that didn't see the fight, it was looking really good. You had done a really good job, as you said, chaining. You tried a couple different, I think you went from a double to a single and then a back take. You had a couple. How did it go for your takedown?
I went into a double leg, and then as soon as he started, running the cage, I went to the single. And when he brought it back, I went back to the double again. And then he moved his butt out, so it was a real easy takedown there.
Yeah, that was great. And then I think he kind of, didn't he kind of, it's almost like, I guess you could call it like a backdoor escape, in the sense that he kind of got out from underneath you. You were doing a great job, and then about 30 seconds to go, he was able to get out from underneath you. And of course, my brain, as a commentator, we were talking about it, but my brain is, it's always tough to know, because the way a fight ends matters. So I think they did make the right decision. I think you definitely won a decision, but it's tough because of the way 2 minutes goes by so quickly. So how was that last 30 seconds for you? I mean, you stayed in it, you stayed active. It was a great fight.
Like, even when he took my back, I was like, oh, I need to get up. But I sweat a lot. Like, I drink a lot of water, a lot of sweat comes off of me.
Hydration.
You can ask any of those guys that practice with me, they know I leave a massive. But same thing in that fight, it was so wet where we were at. I was trying to stand up, and I couldn't get my feet underneath me.
Yeah.
So you can actually see me kind of like sliding myself over to the cage so I can climb the cage.
Sure.
I mean, and that was one of the things, because I know, like, some judges, they can take that last,
Yeah.
30 seconds and it can go the other way. And I was like, I need to get up. And I mean, I got up, but I didn't get off enough as like what I wanted to. I mean, I'm not like completely happy with the fight. Like, I'm happy I won. I think my performance could have been a lot better. Like, I mean, that first round, I mean, I really don't like leaving anything up to the judges, but I mean, I am happy it went my way. I just, there's stuff I need to work on. My coaches know there's stuff I need to work on. I just want to keep getting better.
When you mention your coaches, Darren and Ray and the Gorilla House Gym, I think it's exciting because I know your first couple fights before you were in the military, you were training yourself completely. You didn't even have a gym. And I think you're a great example of somebody who has talent, has skill, has courage and confidence. And I think putting a great gym, and obviously Gorilla House Gym has really great, I mean, pro level, high amateur level, a lot of great coaching. I mean, I think it's just, and it's a family type gym, Gorilla House Gym is very family. But I think what you really showed is, yes, you can look back at the first round and think, oh, I should have done that differently. But here's what I think makes that a great fight for you. In fight adjustments, you come out of the first round, it went pretty just not for you. You were pressed up against the cage. Like you said, you were expecting things to go differently. You didn't get hurt, which is good, but it was definitely not your round. And I think the coaches and you really showed a level of understanding of how to make adjustments, because it's very easy, particularly in a 6-minute fight where it's 2-2-2, to just kind of start and just slide down and then just, it's just over. So I give you and your coaches a lot of credit because that first round didn't go your way. You adjusted. And something that you had said that we talked about, in your walkout on the commentary is Cody Gamble's kind of known for wrestling. He's a big guy. You're a big guy. Athletic heavyweights are always exciting. But you had said during fight week that you really wanted to show your wrestling and that you'd only been taken down 6 times in your high school career. I think that was the number. I'm trying to remember it off the top of my head. So talk just a little bit, because I love to ask wrestlers this question. How much do you like or not like having the cage? Because one of the things that pure wrestling doesn't have is it doesn't have a cage. And I think wrestling adjusts very well to the cage, like you were talking about. I think wrestling, some wrestlers, obviously DC Cormier was great in traditional wrestling, but it was also great in the cage. And I think some wrestlers are actually better in the cage because they can use the cage in a way that you can't use. So when you got into MMA, how much did you start to learn the importance of the cage and the fence? And do you like having that as sort of wrestling into a wall as opposed to just wrestling where it's open?
Yeah, I mean, like, especially when it comes to wrestling, like, you got like 2 types of wrestlers normally. You got guys that, the whole time they're trying to dominate you. And then you got guys that are just trying to get those points. When you get those grinders, like, that's when the cage comes in, where it's like, I'm not trying to get you to the edge of the mat to get that takedown and then the ref to call us back in. Like, I don't want that. Like, I want to be able to stop you right there at the cage and then finish my takedown and then keep beating the hell out of you.
Well, like you talked about with Cody Gamble in the 3rd round, you were able to reverse. You were able to chain a couple takedowns. He did a good job spreading his legs, went to a single, back to a double. And then you said his weight shifted and you were just basically able to dump it. And I think that's really effective wrestling. When you think of wrestling and MMA, I hope people recognize, sure, if you're like one of the greatest wrestlers of all times, Henry Cejudo, obviously a gold medal wrestler, he got knocked out in his first title shot because clearly knees and punches are not in wrestling. So we had to learn that. And he became a double champ. It's a great story. And clearly his wrestling skill was just, the top of the top. But in a cage, he still had to adjust it to a cage. And I think cage wrestling, if it were not WWE, but cage wrestling in a way is more exciting, because I've been to a lot of college wrestling and it's exciting. But I think, like you said, a lot of people start to play that ring. They start to only want to push somebody out, get reset. And that just doesn't happen in MMA. That cage, at one point, you and Cody pushed right in, that's 500 pounds, pushed right into the cage right in front of us. And I remember thinking, this is a big deal. This makes a big difference to have 2 big bodies working up against the wall with a little bit of movement it makes a big difference. So let's do this. What is the thing you like? Because I know you've got performance and you want to work on what you can improve. And I can't wait to see you in the future. But what do you think you're the most proud of? Like, what aspect of that 6 minutes went in a way that you can say, okay, that's a takeaway in a good direction, as opposed to, all the stuff that you want to improve?
I think mainly just like when because I mean all 3 rounds, like we started off, he pushed me directly into the cage.
Yeah.
Like he came in, he dropped low, and
Mhm.
he's pretty much sprinting back in the cage, and like the things that were going through my head are things that I learned like during my camp and working with Ray and Darren, and that's what I like the best is seeing the stuff that I've learned and that I've been able to take in and actually transition with that into the ring.
Sure.
And like that's probably what I'm the most proud of is that
Yeah.
I'm able to, like, all right, I was like, oh, I did this in practice. All right, let's go ahead and do this. And like
Well,
that was one of the things like even before is even when I was like I would always try to force a takedown. Like during my practice and stuff, I'm always trying to force a takedown. And my coach, Ray, is just like, and Darren too, both of them are like, what are you doing? I was like, you're hanging out on this double leg or you're hanging out on the single leg. I was like, it's just like wrestling. It's chain wrestling. That's what you got to do. One doesn't work, you go to the next one. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is what I do. Like this makes sense. I need to do this. But yeah, that's probably what I'm the most happy with is just being able to take what I've learned and then put it into the octagon.
And I think that really makes sense coming from you. I mean, that should be a good athlete all the time. All athletes should want to see the connection between training, conditioning, sparring, practicing, technical drills, whatever, and performance. Because if there's not the connection there, and some people do have performance issues where they're great at learning it, but putting it into action is challenging. So I think that was very impressive that's what you took away, because I think that gives you and your coaches more confidence. And when you can see the connection between what you're doing in the gym and how it's making you win a fight, actually put it into action, I think is just beautiful. It was incredible to see you in action. And your attitude is just so positive. And I think it's really a great example of the gym being, kind of well known for all the attitude. Everybody that comes out of that gym has a good attitude, whether it's Sid or you or Cam or Ethan, and I think that really makes a difference. You've got coaches that care. You've got coaches that are really focused on teaching and education. And to take you, I mean, you were 1-3 coming into this fight. I think you were already performing better than the record showed, but to then show that you can put together a great performance as a comeback after a round that didn't go your way, I think it really just shows your skill level is starting to connect to your training, which is just wonderful, bud. I'm pumped. So do you want a little bit of matchmaking? Do you want to fight on that December 4th card, 247 Brawl in the Burgh 10? They're already advertising. I know it's going to be a huge card. They're going to put pro boxing on it as well. Is that something that you're throwing out there December 4th, or is it something? Okay. Well, then I hope you get matched for December 4th.
Yeah, absolutely.
All those heavyweights out there. Let's get Dan the Man, Big Man Dan, matched, because I think it is exciting to see. It's always exciting to see heavyweights. I think every promotion loves heavyweights. Cody's fought for 247. You fought for 247 now several times. I think it's a good thing to kind of develop heavyweights within 247. So I hope you get matched. Can't wait to have you back on the show. Thanks so much for taking time out just a couple days away from your big win. Congratulations.
Hey, thanks again.
Have a good one, bud. Bye-bye.
Hey, you too. Bye.
Got it.